Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The title of this program is something like the Mandela Effect, Part 3. And that comes to mind because we had talked years ago about the Mandela Effect, and that would be part of what we were doing. The Mandela Effect is very unique, but it is strictly colored in its approach. It reminds you of Jomo Kenyatta in 1961. His first speech after liberation of Kenya was about accommodation and what have you, and so he had been in prison for about 9 years, and they let him out to resume the leadership of the Mau Mau movement. That was a great movement. And so when we look at Mr. Mandela, he had suffered 27 years of prison and all other kind of, I think they might have did his family as bad as anybody. In fact, his poor wife, they used to talk about Winnie all the time, but according to the record, Winnie did more time in isolation than I think anybody on record. And they really, but I liked in the movie, when she came out of prison, she said, when I went in, I was younger or something like that. And now she said, I'm grown now. She didn't say I'm grown, but she said, I'm not afraid anymore. In other words, they did her so bad, they broke all the, she held on. She held on as good psychologically as anybody I have seen that was in, she was technically in the hole. But she was different when she said that. No. So they had helped her grow. Of course, she didn't have too much forgiveness in her. Mandela was a proper leader of the movement because he was able to evolve. All those 27 years he did in prison, he wasn't the same when he came out of prison. He had observed what was going on and he evolved. All the time he was in prison, he was evolving. They showed in the movie when some of the young guys came into Robben Island, him and a lot of the older brothers, they was clipping vines or something. This is just in the movie, on tomato plants or something. And they said, is this Mandela? And then he talked to the younger guys, and they said they was kind of arrogant. Well, young people were out of, you guys got old. He said, we out there cutting up. We taking care of business. It won't be long, these boys fall. But he just told them, he said, we're unified. If we're unified. And this was a message that you would find throughout history. The great leaders was always able to unify their people, whoever their people were, or unify various tribes and racial and ethnic groups to do what they had to do. The reason I'm mentioning this is because we're going through a serious stage of evolution right now. And when we look at our situation, We could have went back to California a long time ago. We could have did this, we could have did that. But that was the reason we didn't do that. The reason that we didn't do those things is because we're doing, this is my belief, exactly what we're supposed to do right now. And one of the things that we have noticed that the system has not let up. The system is trying to keep us focused on something they want us to be focused on. Because they know a secret. When we focus on what we're about, we'll whoop they behind every time. We have, okay, if people added up, they said, oh, you know, that ain't nothing. We done slap the boss man upside the head every time. And we have evolved to the proper state where we believe we should be every time because we never allowed them to set the agenda, or we never allowed them to fully set the agenda. The closer we get to now, the more charge we have taken of our own lives. You could look at the people, I'm not going to call their names or anything, but they stay on the phone. They call every other day or every day or this, that, and another. I don't answer the phone. I don't answer the phone because I'm afraid to talk to them. I don't answer the phone because there's nothing that they're trying to do but get me back to California. They're trying to get me back to California for good or for evil. They done messed up things so bad they might want me back there to, you know, go on and sue them and get the money. But that might have been their plan. Because after a while, they wouldn't keep doing this stuff unless they, okay, he didn't pass the test, so we want to. But that is not the proper thing. The proper thing is right now. This is the proper development, okay? This is proper development at this time. And if you notice in our lectures and our talks, we go through different things about, you know, William Penn got a charter to establish Pennsylvania, and anybody want, okay, da, 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 da. Those are thoughts. Those are things that go through your mind when you're working toward not utopia, but our utopia. Okay, now, we're trying to develop a utopia for the people, but we're already in utopia. For us, utopia is the ability to fight the system over and over again, and the ability to forecast what the system is going to do. And part of it is something that we have never compromised for it. We have kept the same attitude and what have you, but the thing that we noticed about all other movements in our history, they did not have longevity. That's why Martin Luther King said in his last talk, longevity has its place. But for him, he'd been to the mountaintop, and he so-called saw the promised land. He may, okay. But the promised land was the thing for him, was for the things that John Lewis and them was working on. That was getting a little piece of the system. Okay. For us, what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks is very unique. It has to do with evolution, and we're not, I'm not saying we don't care what people think, but in a way we don't. We don't care whether they like it, whether they don't like it, whether they're happy, whether they're upset about it. But we had to, this evolution is a very unique and strange process that it allows you to go to level after level, step after step, and it's a part of evolution until you get to the stage where the questions are answered, all the questions are answered, everything is in place for this period of time. In fact, we're locking in on this period of time that we're in. That means if we'll get more new information, but we're locking in on this period because this is the period that we've been waiting for, and this is a period of expectation. This is one of the periods where, like, what was one of the old revolutionaries? It might have been, not Marx, it was Lenin. Lenin said something about taking one step forward and 2 steps back. Does anybody remember that? 1 step forward and 2, yeah, okay. That was real. What he meant was they had just run into something. They had been talking about colonialism and how the colonial structure was going to collapse in on itself. But then he said there's something new going on. It's imperialism. It's the highest stage of colonialism. And so in about 2019, 20 or 21, he said we have to take 1 step forward. In other words, step off into that new world. But you have to take, in order to do that, 2 steps backwards. Now, technically that would be regressive. And for other so-called revolutionaries or young people, they say, man, I ain't gonna take no 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That means you just shoot all you got. You're going backwards. Technically you are. If you kept that program up, you would back around the world into your old program again, going backwards. But this 1 step forward and this 2 steps backwards mean that we've been working for decades. What is the methodology that we would use for modern times? You know, and we wrote many articles and we thought about, you know, the revolution and what were some of them old titles? Revelation and Revolution. And we had put together how Revelation and, you know, Musa alayhi salam, the Mustadafin, and it made a lot of sense. But, you know, that was almost 30 years ago. Not 30 years ago, but it was almost 30 years ago. That was way back. That might have been about 27, 28 years ago. That's a while. Okay. Now we evolved to the situation where 1 step forward means that we would integrate into this system. And this integration has nothing to do with infiltration and sabotage. I want everybody to hear that, and I want everybody to understand that. And I say that because it's not necessary. It's not necessary, number one, because the system has spent all of its time and energy trying to recruit us into the system, right? And this is what he wants, the system wants for us. We say, great. But not only do we say integrate into the system, but don't assimilate into the system. Do not become, now this don't mean the first 5 years. The first 5 years, keep your mouth shut, don't hurt anybody and all of that. But the first 5 years, didn't y'all say they give you money to go back to school? The government. Well, keep going to school. Keep going to school, When you ever have to arrest somebody, go and arrest them. That may be for 5 years or 7 years, but now there's certain things we're dealing with. We're dealing with time constraints now. Before, if you go back even a short time ago, longevity. And that longevity served us well. Longevity is what got us here. Longevity is what taught us how to relax. Longevity taught us how to have sabr. Sabru wa nifsul iman. Patience is half of faith. So that taught us to be in charge of your own time. Don't let people poke you and make you move, right? That's the serious. And when we say 95% of ability is stickability, you stick to what you're doing. Don't worry about what they say, what they think, and what they do. Number one, you haven't found no revolutionaries nowhere. In other words, running around. So Mellow Yellow is not, New York-y type-y man. They're just not. Before I go much further, I want to stop and say this, that during this period, we want to cooperate, to bring certain other people along in this. The same thing they're already saying. But we're going to bring them on board because this can't be an overnight thing. Plus, I want y'all to think about it, and our next program might be maybe even this Thursday or something where we discuss and we deliberate and we pull apart all of what we're talking about, because this time around, this is something that has a taste to it. This one has that taste. Just like when you see the guy shoot the ball and he turn around and go back. When they say the rule in basketball is follow the shot, right? But sometimes you see them shooting, they gone. Why? Because they tasted, they know it's in. That's the way this is. That's the way this is. It's not, that don't mean it has to be that way, but this is the feeling that we give, that we have about the era, the time, the place, and the circumstance. Just in brief, look at the news. Today, they got a couple of things in the news about Don. He have a orange jumpsuit. I don't know if y'all, with his head on it. There's two pictures like that. One on big news, but look at the news. Look at the chaos. Look at the predictability, but unpredictability about what they're doing. Look at them people. Good God Almighty. It's chaos. It's chaos, and this chaos is, they manufactured some of the chaos to get the chaos going, and they keep blowing smoke in there to keep it going. But this chaos is real. It is real chaos. And it is too chaotic to be, it has a pattern to it, so that means something is not giving it any rest, you know. In other words, if something happened in Iran every other week, if a ship blow up, if this go down, that means there's somebody doing that. Somebody is keeping that going. You know what I mean? Okay, the same here in the United States. If this stuff is happening, the things that are happening in the United States, it's a reason behind it, and somebody is benefiting, or they feel they will benefit from it. And they're stoking the flames of disunity. No cooperation. If you match up the United States with China, just in buildings, all the buildings in America, old boxy skyscrapers, right? All the buildings in China are all brand new, big glass structures and everything. The system in China is on the ascendancy. It's expanding and it's growing at a rapid pace. In America, everything is collapsing in on itself. It is the classical Roman British Empire syndrome. It's the syndrome that all nations have when it's beginning to collapse in on itself. And basically technically there's nothing to hold it up. Okay, it may not collapse like it just fall down and a big puff of dust go up, but it's getting weaker and weaker. The global respect for the United States is going down and down and down.
The U.S. is following the same path as the Soviet Union.
Who said that? Putin. Yeah. Of all people. Hey, man. And he ought to know. The ideas that we have, or that we are instituting already amongst ourselves through these lectures, but we want to upgrade them. We want to polish up what we're doing. And within a few weeks or a month or so, we want to get it out around the people. And according to time, place, and circumstance, we want to push this. Okay, that's the one step forward toward truth, justice, liberation, and all that. But 2 steps back, meaning that the system is the thing that they used against us. They used it with deadly effectiveness and deadly efficiency. Strategically, we don't have time. I mean, it's possible we do. But according to the way things are going, mass chaos will develop probably before we have any chance to develop any system. And Boss Man has been effective in making sure we don't develop a functional system of our own. Hip, hip, hooray. Why do we say that? Because we wouldn't be here, right? Using the system that he's developed, right? He's built a stairway to heaven, everything in it. Remember the programs we go to at ISNA? There's a whole table full of diary speakers, native Dari, kind of like First Farsi, Arabic speakers, Chechen speakers, all those languages, right? The government want those people to join to interpret for them. We say, great. We used to say, boy, this is dirty, what are you doing? We say, no, 2 steps back, great. Great, okay? No matter what you say, the black police, I think it's 1 or 2 down in Dixie somewhere, that might have shot 1 or 2 people. But the record is, black police, 95% sufficient, do not shoot black youth. They may beat him upside the head if he cuss him out. You dumb nigga, you da-da-da-da-da-da. Him and his boys, they'll work you over. But they haven't, you know what I mean? It's something preventing that. That means that we're already headed in the right direction. Now just imagine, with the proper education, and they educate you. If somebody's in the university right now and they get an associate's, join up with a system. Any system, it doesn't make no difference. Join the police and go back to school, you know, and they're gonna pay for it, right? It's unbelievable. Pay them. Eventually, the numbers will grow. Because most of our people was going to join the city, the state, or the federal government anyway. If they were going to be an attorney, they're going to be in public defender's department. Because most black attorneys are not going to get enough customers, although most of the customers is Negroes, right? They're not going to get a Negro attorney, don't have an opportunity to get no whole lot of, right? Because they don't have no juice. Right? So all he could tell them is what the public defender wants. So he say, I might as well join the public defender. Or I'll join the prosecution, right? Maybe after he get 10 or 15 years experience, like Johnny Cochran did, then he get out. You see what I mean? But he done got a job, he done got a little house, he done worked himself to death with that. You ever see the stack of them cases that they had in public? Anyway, 1 step forward is to rescue our people from annihilation. If the system is crashing, which it is, if panic ensue too early, if panic ensue in 10 or 15 years from now, we'll be in pocket. If panic ensue today, we're in trouble. What do I mean? A small percentage of the black policemen and the black military would not shoot down black people. Small percentage. But if he's in the army and they're saying shoot, the whole power of the military is on him, so he shoot. And not because he wants to, but because when the average Negro look at an Arab, he says, them guys the same color as me almost. And we know they ain't did nothing, but we'll shoot, you know. Remember, this is not infiltration, this is not sabotage. But by 10 years, we want to have a group of people that the numbers are going our way. That means in the uniform police departments, but in every other system that they got. That means if you want to wait around and go into the legal part, go on in there. Right? But we're saying, for now, it would be more important for you to go into the government, although you won't make as much money and on and on and on, but That's the position of authority. And when they want to use anything against you, they're going to use the government. So if in so many years the economy collapses and all the people are jumping up and down, they're going to tell them, stop them niggas, right? The Latinos that over the last 30 years are driving these new trucks and cars with the old stuff they used to drive, they ain't doing that no more. But those have to be our allies, just like brown berets and Puerto Ricans in New York, lords, young lords. They all said what they were doing. They were imitating the Black Panther Party, the line and everything. Okay, so this time, one step forward for liberation, but for security purposes, to secure your family and everything else, you have to take 2 steps back. That means you get back deeper into the system. But this time there's a niyyah, there's a purpose for it. You see what I mean? The purpose is not to get an old low-down job and no. And then what's the critical mass? What's the numbers? Let's say if 25% of the people have studied and they know why they're there. They're taking a little check and they're doing this, that, and that, that's fine. But at a certain period, say from 7 to 10 years from now, with mass assimilation into the system, or integration, whatever, we're in a position of authority and power. Add that on too, we'll be heading around the country too and speaking at majority Latinos, especially when you're in California, shoot, every university, every city college and all of that. Plenty. So, if they're doing the physical work, but they're in the system with us, right? Because they're getting the same treatment that we are. They're getting the same treatment, and they know they're getting the same treatment. Okay. And now, let's add in the higher echelons of education. Most of the tree huggers and those type of people, they're a little, probably, some of them are, but some of them ain't educated at all because they be spiking them trees. When you drill an iron bar into them and you be a logger cutting down them trees, man, when that chainsaw, them big ones, hit that iron spike in that tree, I'm telling you, injuries go. I'm telling you, boy, look at here. No. Join the system. In other words, every system that they have, if they want to join, that includes like forestry service, firefighters, everything. Join up. Because those 1% or 0.1% at the top, all they want you to do is to implement their system. But if we got it in mass, and all the signs are there, they have been so abusive and so abrasive and so nonchalant about the welfare and the health of the people, especially, not China, but especially the U.S. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the old days when, you could own your own home, you could do all that stuff, and now it's out of reach. It's out of reach for American citizens. Okay. So we're going to say to the middle class, sit up, get in the system, and join the system. This is a strategy. This is a tactic, but it is not an infiltration. It is saying to the people, hey, join up. But remember, during a period of chaos, what do they have? Chaos. What do they do when that chaos happens? They call out the military, they call out the police, they call out the National Guard, right? That's who they call out. Okay. 10 years from today, when they make that call, we want to be well represented. Not only well represented, but expecting it. Well represented, and we know that those people that they want us to take charge of didn't have nothing to do with this. And at the same time, thank God the Israelis, those monsters, are teaching America to act like them, right? That's why the guy would just, all of those minutes, just choke the brother to death. Yeah, hey. And everybody was watching it. Okay, so right now is the time for that platform. That wasn't time before. It wasn't the time to talk about it. It wasn't the time to do it at all. Although we've been headed this way a long time. How long ago was it that we talked about the Mandela Effect? It might have been decades. It could have been 10 years ago when we first started talking about the Mandela Effect. How long ago did we distribute and write and make flyers, letters to the Christian churches as we want to develop a society where Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon them all, would be happy with it, right? Just a few years back, during the opiate crisis, the white folks was dropping like flies. But it coincided with some of our favorite ayats. That we would become their wali, right? So there's some people and warm and fuzzy friends. We always made that not just friends. And this is from the Quran. We didn't make this up, right? Warm and fuzzy friends. This is a history-making opportunity for the despised and rejected in the United States. If we do this right, we can be in the forefront of a new world. This, at this time, feels better than any other of the things that we were thinking about. This has a better chance of working. Most of it got to work anyway, because most of the Negroes they're going to join up anyway. But at the time they're joining up, right? Every person of color recognizes you implement the system, that's what it does to us, right? Not only are we talking about one step forward and two steps back, but the whole system is headed back. You know what I mean? So we have a great chance and a great opportunity Okay, so let me get back to where we were. Expand on one step forward and two step back. It's possible to challenge, to elaborate, to explore all the details of this period. All the details of this period, I believe that's our job. I also believe that for whatever reason that we didn't reach our goals in the 20s, Harlem Renaissance, or during Reconstruction, or during the 60s, was for this period that we getting another go-round. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what everybody else was doing.
Huh?
That's what the Irish were doing. They were joining the police and joining the private.
Every group, but this is different. The Irish, later on Italians, but you go back 100 years ago, every police from Boston down here was Irish almost. This is poor, no technical get ahead. So they helped build the railroads with the Chinese. I had to figure out why they didn't have too many Negroes on that railroad. They had a few building the railroads, but it's mostly Chinese and Irish and all that. And they couldn't get no engines to help. They was out running around and shooting at them, so they wasn't going to do it. But anyway, let me get back to this. Okay, a lot of people don't understand longevity mixed with historical transformation. For us to be talking about this, we have to be here at this frame of mind in this particular time. And it just so happens, if done properly, these ideas are tailor-made for the time we're living in, right? Tailor-made for it. And we're tailor-made for it. No, the Negro is tailor-made for it. They done wiped not all, but a lot of the business aggressiveness out of the Negro, like start a business, get on Wall Street, all that. They have conditioned to Negroes to want security and safety. So people join the Army for security and safety. Now, I don't know why they do that. But that's what they join the police department too. And the Army is the unsafest place you can be, and so is the police department. Right? When we joined the police department before, the numbers were small on the people. Say, hey, brother, don't call me brother. That's the first thing they taught them, and they meant it too. In the early 70s, don't call me brother, I'm police. Yeah, the police taught them, don't call me brother. And any one of them you call brother would flash right back at that. And the reason we're not free is because we are too lazy. Told the niggas, too lazy. Bunch of dope fiends. It was Reverend Wright and all of them. They figured out that the white folks was bringing the dope here, to kill Negroes. But the Negro police didn't. They just getting it now. I'm telling you, everything that's involved with this is at the right time and at the right stage and the right frame of mind. It's like going to court. They say, man, how you gonna fight this? He say, I've exhausted all of my remedies. That's the way it is. The Negro has exhausted all his remedies to solve the problems that he's living under. The other thing is during panic and periods of chaos. So now, before we talked about longevity, no rush, nothing. That's not the way it is now. Now there's a hidden kind of internal, let's kind of make this, so if we say 5, 7, by 10 years we want to have this kind of boxed in. There's plenty of time. Why do we say 10 years? Because it used to take 100 years to go around the world. It used to take I don't know how long to get a message from somewhere else. And now you can get that message in 10 minutes. You can plug into China, right? And you can plug into anywhere and everywhere. So remember when CNN started its news, 24-hour news? That was 30 or 40 years ago. That's 40 years ago, something like that. That was a big deal, 24-hour news. Now everybody's 24-hour news. And the minute something happened in Iran, it'll be on our phone in a hot minute, right? So things don't take as long. And I think we're giving ourselves a pretty good break to say 5, 7 to 10 years to get in place. Because if you want to see a bunch of sad people, look at the American Indian when he wasn't prepared to protect his family and his society from the cavalry, right? It did something to them, and technically they haven't come back from it. Why do people drink and do all of that? Indians just stay drunk. Why? Because I didn't fulfill my obligation as a man. And then I'm the 5th generation of them. I used to be cellies when I was at Leavenworth and other prisons, federal prisons, because they do stuff on the reservation, they go to federal. And it was a sad thing that something had been taken out of them. Something had been taken out of them. And all they wanted to do was just drown it with alcohol or anything else that would drown it out. Oh my goodness. The missionary schools and all that stuff you hear about in the U.S. and Canada, they did the Indians here the same way they did the people in Australia. Those are colonial. Okay. If we don't want that (2030, 35, and 40), we have to do this. Yeah, because we have to have those people that they would use to do it, right? Remember, there are so many dynamics headed our way. In America, the white population is decreasing. The Latin American population is increasing, and when you get them coming across the border, they passed us 20 years ago. They may be 15 million or more in front of us already. At that time, they said it was 40 million apiece, 39 million apiece, Negroes, and with them with a slight edge. It ain't like that no more. They got us They're everywhere. They're in Idaho. They're in pig factories doing the pigs in Iowa. They're in Dixie. It used to be never no Latinos in Dixie. They're everywhere. Okay. So who should they be? Our allies. They should be our allies. Not boss man's allies, but our allies. You could say you don't have to worry about that because they're running them across the border, they're calling them murderers, and they're slandering them. They are. And not only them, but remember, you got to think ahead and plan for the trends of a civilization or a society. When they kill those Asian people, when you see on TV they show a Negro beating up a old, that's not the trend. That's not the trend. There's 2, 3 Negroes, maybe rob them, stuff like that. But I'm from, this guy's supposed to be in California and Oakland. I'm from Oakland. And those poor Asian people, when they have them food giveaways, you see all them people, you see all the old parents. See, the old parents, their kids is wealthy. Shoot. Free food, they be out there baskets, because they remember, see, hey, you giving away free food? And you would think that the Negroes out there, you know, they giving away them food baskets and buckets of free food, and hey, man, bag of potatoes, loaves of bread, all of this, that, and other. They right there. They bring their carts and everything. At least you see them in California. You know, here's the point. We don't have to worry about allies. They have made allies for us. Hey, in 92, man, the Koreans, they hated Negroes. You better not go in no Korean store and snatch up. They had AR-15s. They showed pictures of the wall lined up with them. All the Koreans came out of Koreatown back to their original store, or whoever's still in there. And all the Watts and LA, they was all in there, ready to shoot Negroes. But in the last minute, guess what? The dummies that made their most faithful immigrants, right? Our allies, right? Yeah. Okay. Those are historical realities. Those are things that you can't put together, and it would take so many things in the society to organize that. Those are things that come from Allah. Allah is putting all that stuff together for us, for them. We're not thinking about it. Allah knows what we need. That they'll be our allies. If they're not, they won't be in the way. Okay. Okay. We just talked about before Negroes were were like police, slave catchers, you know, for boss man. But promises broken, broken promises, disappointed, safety, security, success in your own hands, success in our own hands, or I should have safety in your own hands. Would we trust any fluke or anything that we would place the safety of our wives, children, and families and old folks in somebody else's hands? Our safety. But if we are in these various departments, you got to remember, just say Europeans are losing population. Technically, they've lost population. So goes California, so goes America. It was 10 or 12 years ago that California became a majority people of color, not black or Mexican, but white folks are a minority in California. Now, that trend is going on around the country. There's other trends. Probably the young white people that we saw walking around are so influenced by Negroes and liberal ideas, right, that they wouldn't shoot a nigger no way. Let's say 25%. Now, during the time of the chaos, maintaining stability, we would have to understand that the United States of America is headed for a period of chaos. And it don't have to be an implosion, but it has to be a threat of implosion, and the rich people panic and give the order to straighten all this out. We have to be there that they're giving that order to me and you. Yeah, the 1% or less, right? Or send it down through the chain. If we do it properly, that means within 10 years, if we're the educated crew, we'll be, hey, man. I asked one of the brothers who used to come here, I say, you've been a long time, what about the sergeant's test you take? And he ho-hummed, he probably took it several times, but he just didn't pass it. You see what I mean? Okay, so the people that are book-wise, you know what I mean? Well, Islam, they ready for it. They ready for it, and they'll improve. Now, we want to be to where in 10 years, to where every order they send down from the top have to be filtered through us, or enough of us. You see what I mean? Yeah. Okay, you said that's terrible that you think that would happen to America. I don't think it could get around that. You know, all the stuff that's going on, economy, all the ships coming in, they coming in fully loaded and leaving empty. Trade imbalance.
Yeah, that was one of that was that interview I heard about maybe a couple of years ago about a European, one of their scholars was on there talking about the symptoms of decline.
Yeah.
He listed that, yeah, we have a massive trade deficit, in addition to other things, but that's the symptom of just an empire at its end.
Nothing is going the way of stability. There's nothing in there. The infrastructure is crumbling. So we need more taxes to build more roads. Okay, China has built new roads, new everything, new train. You don't even have to fly. You just jump on a train. It'll have you out there 200 miles an hour, you there, right? Flying might be slow because by the time you go to the airport, get packed up and unpacked, right? You could go over land at 200 miles an hour and you'll be there. And at 200 miles an hour, anything is close by. On them super duper trains, right? The infrastructure of America is crumbling and falling down. Technically, it's falling down. What is it, 38 or 48% of all structures, bridges, right, and all that in America is in decay. It needs fixing like now already, right? I mean, that's what they say. Okay. The money that they're giving out, they don't have that money. And they was already broke and they gave out more money to last these trillions. It don't sound like much, but that's a lot of money they're giving away. It's got to have an effect. America has a good name. They had one. They won't have it much longer. And when they hit that bump, the so-called smart people that's been saving their money going to have a lot of wallpaper. You're going to be mad. The other people that don't have a job, they have been mad for the last 40 years, right? We have to be prepared for chaos. And we have to have our people in pocket. You don't have to subvert, you don't have to do that, none of this. That's not even going to be our language. But it's necessary to be there. Okay. Stage B. Mobilize immigrants. We have this mobilization, we won't be able to do with it, but I think the Negro will. Between Siraj and all other Negroes. More specific, when I was going to Berkeley, or when I was monitoring classes at Berkeley, good God Almighty, over 30 years ago, all the Arabic classes was either a few Arabs that was just trying to keep their grades up, taking something they already knew, right? Or all the white folks were military types. And I stumbled in a class, it was the Egyptian, somebody was going to be there, and he was talking to them people, and he told them a lot of lies that they wanted to hear. And I said, hey man, that ain't right. Because I remember one of the times I said Iran is, Iraq is mostly Shias. What are you talking about? Well, let's Sunni Shia divide. He's an Egyptian. He know what the white folks want. The point is this. Them white folks looked at me and they was just, yeah, we're 70%. In other words, they know the truth, but they're all being educated to be the spokesman, the university speakers club that's going to speak today on Iraq. It'll be a Zionist talking about it, right? We have not knocked those over yet. We got to get our students in there, right? They can start today. There's a few of them, we talked about that stuff all the time. But and also, all the other they should locate themselves strategically as educators, and the ones that are not too quick, they should join the police department too, or whatever, become a fire person or go out in the woods as a smoke jumper or something. What I'm saying is, we right here should begin to cooperate with Negroes that's been saying the same thing all their life that we're saying now, but it's with a purpose, right? It's with a purpose. All the language things, yeah, join up. Take all the stuff off the table so it ain't no more there left, just to give it to a few of your people. Join up, right? If we get 10%, it's better than nothing. We don't have nobody nowhere now. Okay, so that means the whole system on every level that we should become associated with it and let them pay for it. And remember, this ain't, to other people it sounds new. وَأَحْسَنُوا قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. We've been saying that for years, right? We've also been saying about equalize their evil with good. Waliyun hamimun, and become warm and fuzzy friends. That's what it's saying. Hamim is warm water, right? To other people, this is all brand new. But which way have we been headed all along? But we had to exhaust all of our remedies first. We had to give it a try. We're going to try to hook up this and hook up that. Okay. That didn't work, but we benefited from it. And now we don't have time to continue that. We don't have time because the impending event could come. Think about it, America. It could come next month. It could come in 5 years. It could come in 10 years. But some of these things are headed in our direction. We won't prepare for it, right? Just think when we get up there how sad we would be, and you can't protect yourself. And you can't protect your family, and they're looking at you for protection. That's because, and we studied our people too, the inability to evolve when the time comes. The inability to evolve when the time comes. It's not a hard decision. Technically, there's nothing else to do. If you got 3 different ways to go, right? This is the smartest, it's the easiest, it's the one we're already prepared for, right? We've been trained for this. We've been crushed and slowed down that we won't function good in the business world. We could. I mean, maybe 1%, 2%, right? But we function well within a slave system, right? In routine. When we go in the military, we already go in there. I bet what's the name kids outran everybody when they got in there.
You're exactly
right. They was trained for this. Right? Both of them. They trained for this. It ain't nothing. Right away. But continue it. Right? already prepared. They prepared us. We're prepared, you know. Okay, we're not prepared. Like Chinamans, they was gonna cut them off at Berkeley and say, you know, Chinamans ain't a minority anymore. That was 30 years ago. Are Chinamans smarter? No. All they do is this all day. They don't go out and play. They don't do any of that. They just don't do that.
I remember back my first apartment up this way when I finished school. There was this Asian family that lived right above us at the apartments, and we would hear, you know, the Asian kid out there practicing his flute on the front porch all the time. That kid must not have done anything else but practice that flute or whatever instrument it was.
Yeah.
That was all he did.
That's why they're not smarter than we are, but they lean in that direction. You see what I mean? So they do it. That's why the white kids was mad at them. They said they thought white people were pretty and smart. They said, these crackers is dumb. This is what the Asians were saying. And the white kids was telling, man, y'all gotta slow down, have some fun. They said fun is success. Like Asians, Japanese commit suicide now. If they get a bad test, they go harry-carry right now. Hey man, that's a little, hold it. I'm not committing suicide. I don't care what happened, you know, but they do. It's okay. So anyway, this stuff that's happening right now, it's right up our alley. We've been trained for it. Not to take a chance except for boss man. Boss man give us a job and we put our whole life on the line as police and soldiers. But he tell you, this is for, you take this job, it's for security and safety. And you're in the doggone army, right? Riding in one of them things and all these new bombs blow up the whole thing and you blow half your head off, right? And you join the army for security and safety. Yeah. Okay, let me speed up a little bit. To go along with this, we have to improve our language with Negro insurgents. Mellow Yellow and Big Talking so-and-so up in New York, all of those types. I'm going to go on up there and just swallow and hold hands and do whatever we can if they let me in. No, because they could sell this, and I mean, you can't. They could sell this easy without causing a commotion.
You know what? It's so, you're right, because actually one of the imams in New York is like a advisor on a television show that's kind of a cop-oriented show that has Muslims in it. And one of the imams has been kind of a, you know, technical advisor
Yes?
from the Muslim. I just happened to see that.
No, I'm telling you, look,
They're already in place.
this is the time. This is not like, this is not a time where you have to really, make yourself uncomfortable to do it. We're already headed in that direction. But now it's just the purpose, right? And nobody, when they ask us, why are you here? I'm here to try to implement the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Maryland. That's a good reason. You know why the Constitution? If they were to give us our constitutional rights, you think they could shoot us? Of course not. You think they could put us in jail? No, because it's so many remedies you got in the Constitution that if you really got your remedies, it'd be hard to put you in jail as it would the big rich man that never goes to jail, right? But the public defender is not going to tell you all of that. He just tell you take a plea. You got 8 cases, and they willing to put them all together. Was it 94% of all cases now are solved through plea bargaining? 94%. Okay. So this is about your career, not our career, your career in law enforcement. Whether the Division of Forestry, the forest range. When I say law enforcement, I mean each and every one. Choose your, okay, civil service. Once you get into civil service, it takes an act of Congress to get you out of there, right? That's what I heard. That's what they all say. They can't get rid of it. After your 6 months, you could do whatever you want almost. That's what they told me. All branches of military. The other thing, battle space, time, place, and circumstance. We will not be diverted from our direction, and we never was, by self-interest. Self-interest is what they've been trying to do to us. Come back to California and get your thing. I'll go back to California when I get ready. What's more important, trying to rescue the Negro and everybody else, or our Masjid in Oakland and property that we can get back whenever? If we don't get it back, this is more important than getting back the property out there. It's more important. Yeah, it's more important, technically. Well, doing this job is more important for us. Other people wouldn't say that, I'm 90% sure. If they had the case we had against both, they would go for the case. But we're here, look, I already know one thing, that it's Allah's will that I'm here. I already know that. And it's nothing, nobody could tell me, well, it's because you smart, that's bull crap. Too many opportunities to slip and fall, too many opportunities to get shot and blown up, too many opportunities, too many. It's just, I already know that. There's nobody can tell me that this is not the qadr of Allah. This is not possible to believe it. Nor can they fatten me up and tell me, you smart nigga, this cause you smart nigga. Yeah, you could get that cause you smart. Yeah, you got more sense. Negroes are stupid. First 5 years, anybody ever heard of Deng Xiaoping? Deng Xiaoping, he was before, what's his name? It was Chairman Mao, then there was Guo Feng, then there was Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping said it don't make no difference whether the cat is black or white, long as it catch mice. This is what he said during Chairman Mao's time. And when they was at the big table doing policies, Chairman Mao was sitting down here, Deng Xiaoping would sit far as he could away, because he was hard of hearing anyway. But Deng Xiaoping was saying it doesn't make a difference whether the system is communist, capitalist, or socialist, as long as it works. It don't make no difference whether the cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice, that's the only thing. That's the whole purpose, right, of the cat. Deng Xiaoping said, he come over here in the early 80s, running around with Ronald Reagan, I think. Had a cowboy hat on. He was just, he had the old Chinese laundry, man. He did a perfect job. He did good. Oh, bossy, bossy. Oh, you just send us all the worky. You just, Chrysler, don't worry, Chrysler, you send it over, we do it. We do it 1/3 the job, don't worry, you pay them $20 an hour in those days. You just pay us $2, no problem. Bossy, you gotta send the technology with us. We can't have, they send you the prefabricated or what's the name. He said, no, bossy, you gotta send how to make it too. You see what I mean? And some of the businessmen were so greedy. I remember when they was talking about it in the 80s. China's putting up these walls, but they wasn't letting them send nothing in unless they sent the know-how with it. Remember the days of the Chinese copying everything? If you wanted a movie or tape when they was doing cassettes, boy, you could get anything for $1. Yeah, just like the movies, $1 or $2, $5, whatever it was. They don't even sell the movies no more. You can't find can you? That's right, it's not a hustle, because the Chinamans don't do it. It's not the Negroes had you thinking that he was, because he'd have some of these. No, he would buy a ready-made movie from the Chinaman, then he'd go home and copy it, then he'd go out and sell it. Right, okay, the point is this. Deng Xiaoping policy was in vogue. America knew one thing. When the Chinese get wealthy, they're gonna dump communism. And they didn't do it. Today, they foaming at the mouth. Why they didn't do it? How they did it, right? Remember? That was the whole thing. Oh, the Chinks they gonna coming around. So they gave them more and more. And of course, a few months ago, whatever his name is, he said he done took every title that they got in China. He's bigger than Chairman Mao Zedong was. Hey, but what the heck? So he took off an old thing. There's a couple of articles in the late 50s and early 60s, socialism with Chinese characteristics. Yeah. And that's what he started. He popped that out on them a few years back and started explaining what it was. 2016 or 17, they turned mad. And when they turned on the old boss man up there in Alaska a few months ago, that was it. No, because the Chinese been talking about it for years. Should we maintain this attitude, or is it time to come out? See, because Chinese had one thing that they called it the century of humiliation. When everybody was in China, the French, the Americans. 55 days in Peking, Charleston Heston, that's the movie. Yeah. All of the great martial arts movies that we used to watch about Shaolin. The brother want to get to Shaolin. Over here they call it the Boxer Rebellion. Chinese don't do no boxing, it's martial arts. But to them, everything is what they say it is. The point is, they played it on until they said, okay, now We're past that, and we are who we are. And that's why the Americans were so, what? Remember a few months ago? What, you talking like that to us? And they sat there all day. They said, oh no, we're not doing that anymore. And they're not. But look where they are. The Americans are going down. And the Chinese are coming up. Okay. The Chinese are making money. The Americans are borrowing money. Whatever happened, we don't want to take a chance with our lives and our families' lives, betting on how things fall with them. Okay. So this Sunday we'll have another thing. We might put out some stuff. Brief history of transformation. That we'll go over a brief history of this transformation. We'll be on this subject for quite a while from all different kinds of discussions like today. Some of the stuff we said before, and we're going to research it. And when we go out, we could go out now, but we'll give it a couple of weeks and what have you, so that we will have a thought out policy, not learn on the run or on the job training. We could do that, but this is a little too important. Other thing is we want to have prepared questions that we could answer. If we ask this question, we want to be prepared to answer. So we have to plan for possible rough years ahead. We have to also plan, since you got to remember, we're the ones that's in this mentality. You got to remember, the immigrant and the immigrant's children are not where we are. That's what As-Sabiqun, we have to help them, assist them in doing what's good for themselves. Okay. They take certain Negroes' words because they've been maybe good lackeys, whatever. Not lackeys, that's a bad word. They've been, okay. They can sell that process. Mellow Yellow and them can sell it to them. I'm not saying we can't. If we have to, we'll try. Before maximum exposure, a period of experimentation. Is that clear that this period of experimentation is now? We're experimenting on explaining it, but we're going to have more and more experimentation as we get around a little bit. But this is not something that we're going to put way off. This is close at hand. One of the last things we want to talk about is we are not, and we never have been diverted from our mission. We haven't allowed stealing this, beating people upside. We haven't allowed none of that to divert us from our mission. It just hasn't happened. Okay. Nor have we been involved in the chaos of the society. Yes, okay. Sacrifice, yeah. This thing I just mentioned about sacrifice our own interests for the, that includes property and everything. that they think that that stuff is like a hook to hold you. It ain't no hook. You can see it couldn't be too important because we haven't been there and I don't know when, right? It ain't no hook. Let them keep fishing and throwing the line out. Don't make us no difference. We'll go when we get ready for the reasons that we want to go there for. And when we get there, we'll do what fits into this platform now. Possible collapse of the system, confusion, blame game, time element, who they're going to blame when this all happens. This is a matured policy, and this is a period of final stage of research. And responsible leadership. And I repeat what I already, for this to work well, it must be super clean. That means no sabotage, none of that even in your mind. This is a constitutional process. Because remember, for us, the Constitution is evolutionary. It's not our final destination. The Quran and the Sunnah is. But if it'll get us to step, we know what's in our heart and everything, and we know how much the blend of Islam is. We already know all of those things. Okay. I think that's about it. If there's any questions, comments, but we've had many people come here to try to influence us for generations. You remember Captain Ted? Captain Ted, you talk about Clint Eastwood. This is what they told me. They went to the pistol range and he shot a face in the pistol, in the target, and then pow, then the face fell out. Good God Almighty. And then they had, their approach with me is, we're ready for martyrdom. He had another guy with him at first. U.S. Marines. I said, no, that ain't what they thought that this is what we wanted. We want to be trained in military, da, 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 da. I said, absolutely not. That was at best 100 years ago. That's what we thought would work. But no, absolutely not. Okay. Creative avoidance, system avoidance. Yeah. 1970s. Okay. Are there any questions or any comments?
No, there wasn't anything that came over today.
You know, when I've talked to people about policy change, it's good that you're expressing that this isn't underhanded, because that's the first thing they think it is.
Right, it's a big trick.
And because of what's been happening to us, you know, for decades.
Decades.
So it's almost like you think about conversations that I've had with friends, even when Obama got elected.
Right.
But he's got to get in there and play the game to try to get some, you know. So that's automatically the thought process that
Right.
you have to be
No. Legally, technically, as we were saying, if we're here to protect the constitutional rights of the citizen, that's fine. If the Negro get that, he'll survive. Actually, he'd be fine, right? Just his constitutional guarantees. He may not be Muslim, but the Constitution to keep him alive. And he might be healthy enough to get a reasonable job and all of that. Okay. So we want exactly or close to exactly what we've been talking about. We don't want anything on the side. We don't want anybody get calling on the phone or coming by, dropping a note in there. Yeah, that's a good program. We should slip up on. We're not slipping up on the white. We're not doing none of that. We are promoting. Remember, just like when we talked about getting up and a rescue mission for opiates and white folks. We were serious about that. The same serious we was about that is what we are about this, right? We don't need anything else. And if we did anything else, and if we discover somebody is going around and saying that's the plan, we'll have to just tell them, no, that's their plan, it's not ours. And we're not pushing that. Yeah, we'll if somebody come through, yeah, man, that's a good plan. You slip up on it, it's the black power, this and that, then we'll just, get the white man back, and he think we stupid, and no, it's not none of that. The other thing is the people forget about Tazkiyah bil Nafs. They don't realize about purification of nafs. Also, Tazkiyah bil Niyya, purification of the niyyah, the purpose that you're doing something. So, are there any questions or comments? Okay, we would like for us here to think about this subject and make notes about it, and because maybe we would like for us to give half our presentation on the concepts of these ideas that is presented. Yeah. So we can, I'll just have my notebook and listen. You can sit right here. And no, we don't have access right now to everybody, and evidently people are not calling. We have to do research. Like they say, you say in the party, they say, what was it? No investigation, no right to speak. In other words, you have to be prepared to write a treatise on that subject. But if you haven't investigated it, you don't have a right to speak. No investigation, no right to speak. So that's what we're doing. We investigate our own ideas. We question our own ideas too. Yeah, of course. Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you very much. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah.